Enjoy your little walk, my husband James called out with a mocking grin from behind the wheel, his family's laughter echoing from the back seat. I stood frozen, one hand resting on my 8 months pregnant belly, as their luxury SUV sped away from the isolated gas station. The relentless Florida sun scorched my skin while I watched the red glow of their taillights fade into the distance, carrying them toward their beachside getaway without me. My name is Kayla Thompson. Until that moment, I believed I understood betrayal, but seeing my husband of 3 years deliberately abandon his pregnant wife in the middle of nowhere revealed a level of cruelty I had never imagined. In the back seat, his mother, Diana, and sister, Ashley, wore smug expressions I won't soon forget. Their laughter lingered long after the car disappeared. What had begun as a routine restroom stop on our road trip to Daytona Beach turned into a nightmare. I'd asked James to wait while I used the bathroom. Walking had become slow and painful in my 3rd trimester. When I returned, they were pointing at me through the windows, laughing. Before I could reach the door, the SUV pulled away, leaving me alone in the blistering heat. The station's owner, Tom, a gray-haired man with gentle eyes, had witnessed everything. Without hesitation, he guided me into the cool store and handed me a cold drink. "I've got security cameras covering the entire lot," he said, his voice tight with anger. What they did was wrong. Sitting in his cramped office, I struggled to make sense of it all. My phone, purse, everything, was still in the car. I had nothing but the sundress I was wearing. Tom's wife, Barbara, brought me water and crackers, her expression fierce with indignation. "I'm calling the local news," she said firmly. "People deserve to see this. What kind of man strands his pregnant wife and laughs about it? It's disgraceful." Surprisingly, I didn't feel embarrassed. Instead, a strange calm settled over me. Let them call the news. Let the world see who James Wilson truly was. As I stroked my swollen belly and felt my baby girl shift inside me, I realized this wasn't just about my humiliation. It was about protecting my daughter from a family that found cruelty entertaining. In hindsight, the warning signs had been there from the start. We met 3 years ago at a charity gala. James seemed unlike his family, warmer, more sincere. He worked as a corporate executive at Florida Values Insurance, a company that prided itself on traditional family values. I was a kindergarten teacher, deeply devoted to my students. We fell in love quickly. Despite his family's barely concealed disapproval, we married within a year. My mother-in-law, Diana, headed the prestigious Wilson Family Foundation and regularly hosted high-profile charity events in Jacksonville. She never missed an opportunity to remind me that I didn't quite belong in their polished world. "It's lovely that you teach children," she'd say sweetly, though her tone carried unmistakable condescension. I always imagined James was someone more accomplished. Ashley was worse. She delighted in orchestrating subtle humiliations, like inviting me to what she called a casual lunch, only for it to turn out to be a formal charity board meeting. I stood there mortified in a simple sundress while everyone else wore designer suits. "Oh dear, I must have forgotten to mention the dress code," she'd said, barely hiding her smirk. At first, James defended me, but everything shifted once I became pregnant. It was as though a switch had flipped. He began echoing his mother's criticisms, laughing at Ashley's barbs, and treating me like a burden instead of his wife. Tom's voice interrupted my thoughts. "The news crew will be here in about an hour," he said, glancing at his phone, "and the security footage is crystal clear." Barbara handed me another bottle of water. "Your hands are trembling, sweetheart. Have you eaten today?" I realized I'd skipped lunch, caught up in the anticipation of what was meant to be our final vacation before the baby arrived, a trip James insisted his family join for bonding. I should have known something was off when he made me sit in the back so his mother could ride up front, I murmured. He claimed she gets car sick, but they were whispering and laughing the entire time. Barbara's jaw tightened. "They won't be laughing once this story gets out. My nephew works at Channel 7 News. This won't stay hidden." While we waited, I used Tom's landline to call my best friend, Nicole. She had never trusted James or his family, especially after the incident at my baby shower last month. "Kayla, thank God you're safe," Nicole said urgently. "You need to see what they just posted online." Tom pulled up Facebook on his computer and turned the monitor toward me. There, on James's page, were photos posted less than 20 minutes earlier. My stomach dropped as I read the caption. "Finally free to enjoy a relaxing family vacation. Some people just can't keep up with the Wilson lifestyle. Beach life, family." The first images showed James, Diana, and Ashley stretched out beside the resort pool, drinks raised, smiling as if nothing had happened. Beneath the photos, comments from their polished social circle rolled in, jokes about their great escape. Congratulations on a drama-free vacation. There's more, Nicole added darkly. Diana's foundation just announced a fundraiser next week, something about family values and responsibility. The irony is unbelievable. On Tom's other monitor, the security footage replayed in stark clarity. There I was, stepping out of the restroom, my pregnant belly unmistakable, just as James's SUV slowly rolled forward, and then sped off. Their laughter carried clearly through the speakers. Barbara shook her head. Those aren't human beings, that's cruelty. My hospital bag, carefully packed with medical records, baby clothes, everything I might need, was still in that SUV. The realization made my chest tighten. They hadn't simply humiliated me, they had knowingly risked my baby's safety. A sharp cramp seized my abdomen. Barbara's eyes widened. Are you having contractions? Braxton Hicks, I said, though another wave of pain stole my breath. I think. Tom was already dialing emergency services. Nearest hospital's 40 minutes out. We're not taking chances. Right then, a Channel 7 news van pulled into the lot. The reporter, Jennifer Parker, took one look at me and shifted gears. We're transporting you to the hospital first, she said decisively. This isn't just abandonment, it's endangerment. More media vehicles followed as they helped me into the van. The story was spreading fast. Another contraction hit, stronger this time. You're going to be okay, Jennifer said, gripping my hand, and the truth is going to be heard. The maternity ward became the unlikely center of a media storm. The contractions eventually eased, false labor triggered by stress. The doctors confirmed, but they admitted me overnight for observation. By that evening, the gas station footage was circulating across every major news outlet in Florida. Mrs. Wilson, a nurse said gently from the doorway, reporters are requesting interviews. Should we turn them away? Before I could answer, my phone lit up. Nicole had retrieved it from the resort after a staff member, horrified by the news coverage, contacted her. Turn on Channel 7, Nicole urged. They're interviewing Diana. The nurse helped me switch on the TV. There she was, immaculate as ever in designer resort wear, addressing reporters poolside. This is a misunderstanding, Diana said smoothly. Kayla has been emotional lately. Pregnancy hormones can be overwhelming. She asked for space. The reporter's expression didn't soften. We have security footage showing your son and family laughing while driving away. Mrs. Thompson had no phone or belongings and was 8 months pregnant in extreme heat. How do you explain that? Diana's smile faltered. The footage lacks context. Our foundation has always upheld traditional values. The broadcast cut to the security video. The audio rang out clearly. Take a nice walk. James's voice, mocking, unmistakable. My phone erupted with notifications. Donors were withdrawing from the Wilson Family Foundation. Florida Values Insurance was trending nationwide. Outrage spread like wildfire. Jennifer stepped into my room. This has gone national. Would you like to make a statement? I pictured James lounging poolside, confident in his power. I thought about women everywhere trapped by manipulation and silent cruelty. Yes, I said, I want to speak. The interview was unfiltered. I described how his behavior shifted during my pregnancy, how this trip had been engineered to isolate and embarrass me. I explained how they drove off with my hospital bag, my medical records inside, demonstrating a reckless disregard for my baby's safety. Jennifer nodded. Your story is resonating. Women across the country are sharing similar experiences. I rested my hand on my belly. This isn't revenge, I told the camera. It's accountability. My daughter deserves a mother who stands up to bullies, even when those bullies share her last name. By morning, the story had exploded. Tom appeared on a national morning show, revealing additional audio from his security system. They planned it, he said to millions. The mother-in-law said, this will teach her to embarrass our family. They were laughing about stranding a pregnant woman. Nicole rushed into my room, breathless. Kayla, emails from Diana's foundation were leaked. The documents revealed deliberate attempts to isolate me. Diana had written that a pregnant kindergarten teacher wasn't Wilson material. Then came the most chilling revelation, Ashley's text messages to James. Once the baby's born, we'll push for custody. With your position at Florida Values and Mom's connections, we'll prove she's unfit. My vision blurred. This hadn't been humiliation, it had been strategy. A knock sounded at the door. A sharply dressed man introduced himself as Michael Roberts, Chief Ethics Officer for Florida Values Insurance. After Nicole stepped outside, he spoke plainly. James Wilson's employment has been terminated effective immediately. We cannot be associated with conduct that endangers a pregnant woman or suggests premeditated separation of a mother and child. He handed me a folder. These are records showing Mr. Wilson used company resources to research custody strategies and maternal fitness litigation. We are cooperating fully with your legal counsel. As I flipped through the documents, nausea washed over me. James had been compiling notes for months, cataloging trivial disagreements, framing them as instability, every forgotten errand, every emotional moment during pregnancy, twisted into potential evidence. The man I married hadn't just abandoned me at a gas station. He had been preparing to erase me from my own child's life. Every minor mistake I'd made, carefully catalogued and twisted into proof of emotional instability. One more thing, Michael said before leaving, his tone somber. Our HR department uncovered a pattern of harassment complaints against James. Several female employees have now come forward. They were afraid before. This goes far beyond your case, Mrs. Thompson. You've exposed something systemic. After he left, Jennifer Parker hurried back in with another update. Diana's biggest charity partners are cutting ties with the Wilson Family Foundation, she reported. Their country club revoked their membership this morning. Their entire social empire is collapsing. She checked her phone again. The resort asked them to leave. Guests didn't want to share space with the family from the news. They're being escorted out. A message buzzed on my phone from an unknown number. It was James's assistant. I saved the dash cam footage from his company vehicle. He and his mother discussed this plan for weeks. I couldn't stay quiet. I stared out the hospital window at the growing crowd of reporters. The Wilsons had tried to orchestrate my downfall. Instead, their own scheme was unraveling in public view. The following day, James's former executive assistant, Amanda, arrived clutching a thick folder. I can't live with this anymore, she said nervously. The custody strategy, it wasn't just about control. There's serious money tied to it. She laid out insurance documents, trust records, financial statements. My stomach dropped as I read them. Policies had been taken out connected to my pregnancy, policies I had never been told about. They intended to frame you as unstable, Amanda whispered. The gas station incident was designed to provoke a medical crisis. If you'd gone into labor there. I felt nauseous. Nicole leaned forward. This is attempted insurance fraud. Jennifer, who had just arrived, nodded. We need to proceed carefully. The Wilsons still have allies trying to spin this as a publicity stunt. As if on cue, Diana posted a tearful video claiming they had only acted out of concern for their grandchild. Moments later, James called. After a quick exchange of glances with Jennifer and Amanda, I answered on speaker. Kayla, sweetheart, he began, voice dripping with false warmth. Let's handle this privately. Think about our daughter. She needs her father. I thought of the insurance policies, the custody emails, the calculated cruelty. She needs a father, I replied evenly, not someone who would gamble with her life. His tone hardened. Be careful, Kayla, you know who you're dealing with. No, I said calmly, you forgot who you're dealing with. I document everything. I have witnesses, recordings, and your own paper trail, and now the country is watching. Silence. You'll regret this, he muttered before hanging up. Amanda glanced at her phone. Federal investigators just arrived at the motel where they're staying. The insurance company's fraud division tipped them off. I placed my hand over my belly. My daughter kicked strongly, as if reminding me why this mattered. Within a week, federal agents escorted Diana out in handcuffs. Her polished composure shattered under flashing cameras. Investigators uncovered widespread financial misconduct within the foundation, insurance fraud, falsified reports, and misuse of charitable funds. James was arrested soon after, his executive image replaced by a mugshot. Ashley followed. Stress triggered early labor, and 2 weeks ahead of schedule, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl, Lily. I held her close as the television replayed coverage of the Wilson family's collapse. Their foundation dissolved, assets frozen, corporate sponsors distancing themselves overnight. Tom and Barbara sent flowers with a handwritten note. Your daughter has a brave mother, that's what matters. Florida Values Insurance publicly announced the creation of a fund supporting victims of domestic manipulation and financial abuse, financed in part by bonuses reclaimed from James. 3 months later, I returned to my kindergarten classroom. Parents greeted me warmly, colleagues embraced me, On my desk sat a framed headline. Abandonment case sparks legislative reform. A new state law strengthened protections for pregnant women in vulnerable situations. Diana's tearful apology at sentencing didn't sway the judge. She received prison time for fraud. James and Ashley faced their own convictions. But the greatest victory wasn't legal. It was Lily. She grew surrounded by people who showed up: Nicole, her godmother, Tom and Barbara, friends who proved that family isn't defined by blood, but by love. When reporters asked what I hoped others would take from my story, I always answered the same way. Sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the beginning of your strength. My daughter will grow up knowing her mother didn't stay silent, and that standing up to cruelty can change more than just your own story.